This is the TSN Sandbox Overview. This is running version 7.3 and I'm just going to go over some of the controls in the TSN Sandbox that you can find. So I've already set up the TSN Saber. I already have the TSN Sandbox selected. You can see this is version 7.3.2, and if I start up the game, select the Game Master console on my main console screen and a main screen option, it means that I can get in as the Game Master. Here we go. Alright, you'll have to ignore this. This is just some UI changes that we're making in one of the mods testing out. So the TSN Sandbox, when you first load it up, you'll see this blank sector map. Nothing is happening there at the moment until I, as the GM, activate it. Usually you can wait till a few more ships have appeared, however many ships that you're playing. The TSN Sandbox allows you to play up to 8 ships at the same time, so the whole range of ships can be used. Once every ship's in, I can click the Activate GM mode. You'll notice that it flickers on and off. That's just in case you connect after it's switched itself on. It means that you don't miss it. Once I get to that, you can see a whole list of systems to select from. I can also pick specific points, so for example I can look at specific command bases or some of the waypoint sectors. This supply situation at the side is still under development. It just means that when it's fully ready, ships will be able to be set up with specific energy or ordnance loadouts. To start up the sandbox, then I can select the system that I want to go to. So if I want the Saber to start in Promethean system, I can click on Promethean. It gives me an idea of the sector map. This is a 3x4 sector, and I want to start them in sector 7, so I just click that and everything starts to load. Here's the Saber down here. The system's loaded. There's a command post, space station, things like that. Things like the shipyard here, those are from the TSN expansion, and the weapons platforms as well are from the TSN expansion. So on the left, it gives you your main menu. It also gives you these two extra options. If I was to drop out of the TSN Sandbox, maybe because my client crashes or because I'm swapping over from one game master to the next or one computer to the next, and I come back in, all the menus disappear. So there's an option that appears and it flickers on and off every so often, which is the reboot option. I think it cycles every minute or so. If I click that, it just brings all the menus back up, so it reappears, so that I can swap computers or I can hand over GM control to somebody else. Next to it, there's the end. This allows you to pick a couple of end conditions for the script. You've got engage autopilot systems and shut down ship systems, and then a cancel button if you change your mind. These just change the pop-up message for players. Both of them will end the script. Alright, after that, all these give you the controls for different functions within the script. So this is the basic menu. It allows you to move objects around. It allows you to move player ships around, delete objects or ships. So for example, I can delete selected, I can delete terrain, including asteroids. So if I click there, you see the asteroid disappeared. I can clear off meshes that I've set up. This option here, delete ships, allows me to clear a sector of any ships that I've spawned really quickly. I can lock the sector to stop the players moving outside of this area. I can also move the players automatically using these transitions, so I can move them to a new sector rapidly if I want to just shift them around. And I can move all players to my point at the same time as well. That will move all 8 ships that are currently spawned to the point where I've selected on the map. So that's the basic menu. Once I want to get rid of a menu, there's the clear option at the top. It just clears out all those options. Another way to cycle between menus is I can just click, and that brings up my next set of menus. So the other menus, we've got the ships. Allows me to spawn a whole load of different ships from different races. The Netani, the Caltrons, the Romarians, The Horde and the USF, those are all different races that are available in the expansion, so I can spawn a USF fleet. Something in this sandbox as well, all the fleets are spawned with the same letter tag at the beginning, so this is fleet A, and then this becomes fleet B and fleet C. The reason for that is so that when I'm setting up AI controls, I can control that whole fleet at once rather than have to control each individual ship. Again, just ignore the shield indicators, those are something that are currently experimenting on with the TSN mod. I can also change the side, take quick and easy, so I can put a fleet on a different side. Even set up little wars between the two enemy fleets. It's quite fun. And now I've got some things spawned, I can show you how delete ships work. So if I click that, it will just clear out every single one of those ships in one click. It's great for when you're doing sector transitions. The AI menu allows you to tell a particular group to do specific things. So you can change the AI menu. These little buttons up here where it says comms off allow you to cycle backwards and forwards through options, so I can have comms on or comms off. It changes then what AI is assigned to a particular group. Again, I've got AI neutral, comms on and comms off as well. I can change the side while they're live, so I would select the ships and change the side of that group. Or I can pick a specific GM target, so now the AI will be set to waypoint 72. Gives you lots of different ways to control these enemy ships. So for example, if I get the USF on side 1, respawn a USF fleet, this is now E, and then I can control that whole fleet at once by going to reassign AI, group E. I can control their particular direction, I can control their particular focus. So for example, I want them to hunt neutrals, I want them to target these weapons platforms and these shipyards before anything else, or target any like allied ships in the area before anything else and ignore the players. So that will have assigned that specific AI stack to them, and they'll start to turn to go to waypoint 72. I can also, in AI, control that group, so if I go back to E group, and I can get them to go in a specific direction, so I can get them all to turn to a direction. Gives me a really fine control over those enemy ships. I can get them to fall back, I could get them to hold position if I don't want them going and attacking players' ships, and then I can get them to start moving again, changing their speed and re-attacking. It means that you can set up really interesting situations and actually use some tactics with the enemy ships. Give players something a bit more to think about. Points of interest gives you a few different menus. You've got life pods that you can deploy and remove, so those are pickup points for shuttles. There's different assets, like you can drop off sensor relays, comms buoys and things like that. So there's a sensor relay there, there's a comms buoy, just little other things to add a bit more diversity and things to interact with. There's a black box, there's a single black box that can be deployed. Again, it's pretty difficult to see. That's the idea for players. Again, that's something for shuttles to be able to go and pick up. And then rendezvous points, so you can have places where they can drop off marines, they can pick up marines. This outcome on and off and success and failure, it's going to link with some comms messages that come through and status updates from the marine teams for comms officers to report back. Can have medical actions, so like a medic drop off and a medic pickup point. You can have cargo, engineering teams. All those are linked with comms buttons, and the players have to load up with a specific set of cargo, like the marine teams or the engineering teams, and they will only be able to drop off that specific cargo at that rendezvous point. So you wouldn't be able to load up marine teams and drop them off at a medical drop zone, for example. There's also a debris menu, so you can add in, and if I spawn it down here in front of the ship, all the ships that are available at the moment. You can add in the wrecks. So down here you can see in the distance a Krellian wreck on the service screen just in front of the TSN Sabre there. Hazards now includes the terrain menu as well, so you can create black holes, radiation points. They also put like a status monitor on the science screen, different nebulas. I've got purple, yellow and blue now in there, so you could create a large nebula cluster or a medium nebula cluster of blue nebula to add some more interest. You can also create different asteroid fields. Just means that you can change the sector slightly, set up specific points. All the creatures are in there, so you can spawn a whale pod. Things like pods of whales or piranhas will show a spawning message here. If you move your cursor while they're spawning, it means the piranha is going to move as well. So for example, if I spawn piranhas and then I move my cursor around, it spawns at those points, and that creates one piranha swarm that's going to come together. Biomechs are in here, and different minefields, so I could create a medium minefield. Again, just things, hazards that they might come across, including the terrain now as well. Interactions allow you to specifically interact with player ships, so you can send them messages like cargo transferring if you want. Those come through to the comms console. Sensor contacts. Sim aborted is one that we've used when we say, oh yeah, we're going to do a live fire simulation, and then suddenly crops up and you have to go off on a mission. It's a nice fun message to send through, a little pop-up message. There's supplies, so you can add and remove ordnance from enemy ships. Tell you what, I'm just going to clear out these enemies. There we go. So interactions. So yeah, the supplies menu, I can add ordnance to the ship selected, or I can remove ordnance. Again, this is like one of those cycle buttons. So if it's on remove ordnance, every time I click it, it'll remove the ordnance. Every time I click it, it'll add the ordnance. So you got homing torpedoes, mines, nukes, EMPs, energy. I'll also add things like the P-shocks, the beacons, things like that underneath as well. Those are still to be included in this version. Sensors, change range of sensors. And then these progress timers, these aren't currently implemented. They're something that I was working on to put a progress timer on the player's screen so they could see like a countdown for searches and things like that. The descriptions, it's getting a bit messy there. Some of these features are still being worked on, so the descriptions as well, you could set a description on a particular selected ship saying it was radiation hazard, it had refugees, or it had strange signals coming from it. And then the boarding actions was a fun one where you could select a particular ship to be attacked. So for example, the TSN Sabre could be attacked, comms messages coming through about the marine action, and systems are being damaged to simulate like a boarding action against that ship. There's a couple of things that I just need to fix up on that. In fact, you can see the TSN Sabre here being damaged. A couple of things that I need to fix up on these menus, that as I release new versions and get to them, they'll be fixed with just the menus and the way they work. Currently we've got some waypoints. There's single waypoints, there's area waypoints which mark out like an area like that, and you can say like there's an objective within that area. There's a large area waypoint as well. So all these are all different controls and functions that you can use to create missions for players. Really the limits in what you can think up and what you can imagine. Final one, there's a toggle down here which doesn't quite show, it's not long enough, but it's a delete, enable and disable. When it's enabled, if you have a load of ships spawned, so for example I've got several USF fleets, things that I want to drive the players away from, when it's enabled if the players go and change sector, all those ships automatically get cleared out, which is really useful. So they automatically get cleared out. Obviously the life pods, the rendezvous points and things like that don't, so you can just select and delete them. It might be eventually that I add a way to clear out these as well as part of that delete, enable and disable, but currently it just functions on enemy ships and allied ships and things like that, things that you've spawned through this menu. So that's a quick overview. Hopefully I'll be able to create some more videos that tell you a little bit more about the sandbox. I'll try and create some for players as well, so they understand how the gates work, how to interact with them, what the comm systems do, things like that, and some of the new features like being able to interact with the fuel collection system, the shuttle operations, the the supply vessels, so you can create like a little supply fleet for them to interact with. So just to give a guide on what all these different features are, because there's so many, it'll probably be done over like a series of short videos. Alright, I'm going to end it there, so I'm going to shut down the ship systems. That'll pop up there, and then the mission script ends. There we go. Alright, thanks for watching. I hope that was interesting, and keep an eye out for other videos.